The sudden loss of a loved one is one of the most painful things a person can ever go through. Well, First Hour Grief Response in the heart of St. Matthews has been set up to help people overcome grief. Welcome. I'm here with Lisa Chardine, who is the Executive Director of First Hour Grief Response. It's a nonprofit ministry that helps people deal with sudden loss. Tell me, what does that all encompass, Lisa?
Sure. Thank you for having me today. We help people navigate the sudden loss of a loved one. Because normally when something happens suddenly, you just don't know what to do first. And there will be a lot of things coming at you very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of information on our website that can be an aid to people who find themselves in this situation. There's an obituary planning worksheet, there's a funeral planning checklist, and then just lots of advice organized by different silos, so different types of losses. We have information about suicide, loss of parent, spouse, child, and we try to help people and guide people depending upon who they've lost.
So some of the times when people are dealing with death, and say it's like an elderly person, and we know that it's coming, and that person does leave this earth from what we know, and but what you're talking about is when someone is lost and it's unexpected.
That's correct.
So this could be the loss of a child through a tragic event. It could be a loss of a loved one from overdose.
That's right.
Could be the loss of a loved one, in multiple different ways. But you guys specialize in what to do when that happens.
That's right. And then long-term grief support. We try to also walk beside people months down the road when everybody's gone home, all the family and friends that surrounded them during that really critical time go back to their normal lives, and it's really tough when that happens because you find yourself alone, and you're now really starting to realize that this has happened and it's a reality. Your body protects you early on with shock. And as you start coming out of that shock, you start thinking, oh my gosh, am I crazy? I'm feeling all these things. I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal.
Right.
Grief is very, very heavy. It's like carrying around 2 giant bricks all the time. And you really need to be with people who get what you're going through and can bring some normalcy to it for you and maybe give you some coping skills. So that's what we do. We meet with people one-on-one and provide mentoring and advice. And then we also, if we feel like they need more help, we'll send them to a licensed counselor or maybe ask them to try something called EMDR therapy, which is supposed to also help, especially in really traumatic events. And so often we see people who have suffered traumatic events, but mostly try to walk with them, help them, get them into a grief support program. There's a lot of good grief support programs around Louisville, so we'll even meet them and walk with them inside to just get them in the first time.
There's such a need for what you guys do.
I hear that all the time. It's amazing.
Because, when we're out there and we encounter people who deal with this, often we don't know what to say.
Sure.
We don't know what to do to help a person.
Right.
You hug a person, you say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You may contribute, funds to them, but can you actually offer them what it is that they need? And that's why I think what you guys are doing is so important. Can you give me an idea and tell me, what led you to this ministry?
Sure.
And, basically what called you to it?
Sure. So in June of 2011, my son Ben was home from college, and he'd gone out to visit with some friends after dinner, and unfortunately we got a knock on the door at 4:40 in the morning, and it's never good when the doorbell rings at that hour. And so there was the coroner standing there, and he asked if Ben Coyer lived here. And I knew at that very moment something very wrong something terrible had gone wrong. So He told us that Ben had died in a car accident the night before at 11:30 at night, just 3 miles from our house. And I've got to tell you that that was just something that I never expected, and I really, at that very moment, just crumbled. Ben was my only child. He was 19 years old, and we were very, very close, thankfully. I was blessed to have spent the night with him just prior to his death, and we have just a beautiful picture of the two of us together that was taken that night that I just treasure. So I wandered around in the wilderness for several months and realized I needed help. I was thinking about driving my car off of a bridge at times, and I was waking up at 4:40 in the morning every single morning. I couldn't sleep through that time frame. And so I went to grief support at Southeast Christian Church. And I went every week, Thursday nights at 7:15, because I was with a group of people that got where I was. And some were further along in their journey, so they could help me and give me some coping strategies, like journaling, for example. You know, that was something that I wrote a lot. I enjoyed getting my thoughts out of my mind so that it wasn't just constantly swirling around in there. It helped me to, especially if I couldn't sleep, I'd get up out of bed in the middle of the night and just go sit in a chair and write, you know, letters to Ben, or just what I was thinking. So that went on for a couple of years. I kept going for grief support, and lo and behold, the leader at Southeast asked me one day if I would be interested in being a facilitator, and I said, "Oh no, I could never do that. You know, I'm not equipped for that." And he said, "Oh yes, you are." And he kept asking me, and then one day one of the facilitators were sick, and guess who got thrown in? So
that's how you got into it.
So that's how I got into it.
Can I back you up just to that night and the event of that night? When you get the knock on the door, you have him, you know, make this announcement to you.
Right.
Did they stay with you? I mean, how did you? I mean,
they didn't bring a chaplain with him, which I thought was kind of unusual. So he did come in the door. He had a little brown bag of Ben's things, which was very weird to me, but that's how he presented them. He did come in the house for just a couple of minutes, but at that point I was wailing and losing my mind, and so I wasn't really paying too much attention. I do remember, though, at the very end, my husband walking outside and saying, "What do we do now?"
Right.
You know, what do we do now? Because we had no roadmap for what was coming at us. You know, the next few days, the decisions that we were going to have to make about funeral planning and, you know, who would speak at his funeral, where would it be, what would he be wearing? I mean, just crazy things that you have to do.
You're thinking through.
When you're still processing that you've lost somebody so dear to you, right? So we want to get involved very early on at First Hour Grief Response. If we can help somebody plan their life celebration or funeral, we'll do that. But we also realize that sometimes they're surrounded by so many people that love them that sort of is taken care of, and then later on, like I said, in the months that follow, they really need the help then. You
know, there's two people that I would like to address in probably different situations that could be watching our program right now. If you were looking at that person and something like this just happened, and they're wanting, and they're literally sitting there going, "What do I do now?"
Right.
What would you say to that person who's sitting there going, you know, what do I do now?
Right. Well, I would have someone close to them get on our website right away. And depending upon the loss that you suffer, so in my case, there's a loss of child silo is what I call those. And they can get in there, they can see information about what they need to do. Like I said, there's the funeral planning checklist, they can download that. So they don't have to make those decisions in the funeral home. They can make those decisions in the comfort of their own home with family and friends around to help them make those decisions. And again, writing an obituary can be really challenging too. So there's an obituary worksheet there that they can work through and gather up the information that they want to include as they honor their loved one.
So if I get on the website, I put my contact information on there, someone from First Hour will reach out to me.
We sure will. We have a contact us form, and we'll definitely reach out within just a few hours normally. If you call us, the number is going to be on the screen today, so call us. It goes right to my cell phone, so I can respond very quickly to people. But we want to get involved as early as people will let us. I had a woman whose son overdosed, and she was a single mom, had
Right.
five other children, and I ran to her. I knew her, so
Yeah.
I felt comfortable doing that. I don't want to be intrusive, right?
Sure.
But most of the time, if I know somebody, I'll run to them. And she said to me, "I don't know what to do next." And I said, "Of course I do." And so
Right.
I walked with her through the entire process. We planned Cody's funeral and the things that she wanted to hand out, the program and what was said and how we got the word out and who people wanted to make donations to, how we were going to make the donations and all of that information. And, I've got to tell you, it was hard, but it brought me a lot of joy to help her.
Right.
One of the questions I get asked a lot is, does this wear you out? And I have to tell you, it really brings me joy to give people hope, because I know how hopeless I was. I know that it was some of the darkest days I think I'll ever experience in my life. And to just let them see that you will survive this.
Yeah.
You will move forward eventually.
The second person I'd like for you to address is the person who's watching and they haven't gotten help. And they've been struggling with the loss of a loved one, and maybe it's been months, maybe it's been a year,
Right.
maybe it's been several years.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
I would say, please, please, please get help. The behaviors that can manifest as a result of unresolved grief is, everything from alcoholism to anger and drug use. And if you don't get help, you will continue to walk around in this place and never move forward. And, the truth is our loved ones really want us to move forward. Right. They're in heaven feeling nothing but pure joy,
right.
Joy that we can't even imagine, mm-hmm. right? And they would be, they would feel terrible if they thought that we were just down here wallowing in our grief. And that's one of the things we deal with a lot is people feel guilty about feeling joyful again.
Right.
And like I said, the truth is our loved ones would really want us to be able to move forward. Of course, they would understand, and it's normal. I'm going to live with this hole in my heart for Ben for the rest of my life. But I finally learned how to live with it and be joyful again, and I know that Ben would want me to be that way. He wouldn't want me down here feeling sad all the time. So get help. A grief support group is a great place to come. The people in the group get you. They're in on different parts of their journey,
right.
So they can provide some insight as well on what worked for them.
Right.
And it's just a safe place where you can come, you can cry, you can talk about what's going on, but get help. I've had people come. 5 years ago was their event, and they've just been walking around in this space
right.
for 5 years, and I think, oh my goodness, that's really tough. So really get, and if not grief support group, if that's not your thing, then come meet with one of us.
Well, I tell you, who better than to help you than someone who's actually been through and been where you're at. And we're going to talk some more with some people who have actually been through the program, and we've seen some success stories.
That's right.
I'm here with Ken Allen, who is in a grief support group with Lisa. And before we get into the support group, Ken, can you tell us a little bit what actually got you there?
We lost our son to a heroin overdose December 20th, 2016. I found him, and when it happened at that time, we didn't know where to go. My wife and I, found him within our house. And we didn't know where to go, what to do. We didn't know of the support group.
Ken, can I ask, how long had he been struggling with addiction prior to the actual time where he lost his life?
We found out it was about 1.5 years before.
Oh my goodness.
And he had went away for a rehab. In fact, we had just got home. It was the second night home that he relapsed, and that's when we found him the next morning.
So literally right out of rehab.
Right out of rehab.
So you guys are, of course, just in shock as this happens. How long was the time before you were able to connect with the grief support group after, his actual passing?
It actually happened when I found him. It was December 20th, and we went to the first grief support group at Southeast Christian. It was in February. I want to say it was February 4th. Okay. So it was about 2 months later. But in the meantime, I mean, my wife and me, we were like in shock. We're fortunate that we both have good supportive families, and that's probably what kept us there, because at the time we couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything.
Do you hear some of these common same stories within the grief support system? You know, just the inability to be able to sleep, the inability to be able to just kind of live what we would call our everyday lives.
It kind of varies by person, but majority of the time I would say they do have sleeping issues, just basically functioning. I mean, it's difficult. You're tired all the time. I mean, you're up, you're down. Even to this day, it hasn't quite yet been 2 years, but I still have sleeping issues quite often.
If someone in our audience was watching right now and they are in a similar situation that you are and they lost a loved one, you know, whether it was to drug addiction, which we see a lot of, you know, drug overdoses, and it's actually been increasing with the opioid, you know, addiction.
Right.
What would you advise that person that would be, you know, maybe watching right now?
I would say probably get involved with a church in your area, or even if you have access to a computer, Google it and find out who might have a grief support group. What Lisa's doing, so to me, it's a great thing. It shouldn't just be locally; it should be nationally, because we have had this, and somebody like Lisa or people that work with Lisa to come by and give us a card or something, letting us know something like that was available, we would not have waited till February, because that time period right there, I mean, you're just so depressed or whatever. And what I've found is, you know, by going to these support groups, it's like you go to church. It's a good day at church. I mean, when you leave there, you feel the love, you feel the support, and you know, we're there for each other. And seeing the fact that other people, you know, they can still, you can live through this thing, because there's all kinds of things that go through your mind when this first happens.
Right.
I mean, I never thought suicide in my life, but I thought about it when this happened. That's how horrific it was. So to have somebody like Lisa that could come there right immediately and be on the spot and give me the information where I could go to, where I can get support, I would have taken it right away.
Wow.
Because it was invaluable.
Ken, I mean, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Sure.
And we'll be right back. I'm here with Lindy Lampkin, who has actually used the services of First Hour Grief Response. Mm-hmm. You've used actually the one-on-one counseling.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about actually what got you here?
A mutual friend helped me in a horrific time of need after my brother committed suicide, after long struggles with mental illness and depression and some other issues. And after the kind of time frame around that settled, a one-on-one person, Karen, from the First Hour Grief Response.
One of the things that I've noticed with First Hour is not only do they help you through it, but the people here have been through it. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was really important about what you said. You know, you said you lost your brother to suicide, and actually the one-on-one grief counselor that you were working with, Karen, similar situation where she lost her husband to suicide, so she knew what that felt like.
Right.
Something that was very powerful about what she said was you had a friend of yours reach out for you. Mm-hmm. And would you have even thought about reaching out yourself had that person, you know?
Not right. Yeah. I think that I would have. It would have taken a little bit more time to kind of like realize that that was something I wanted to try to get into. And luckily, ultimately, my brother's employer offers some sessions that I've taken advantage of. But that was secondary to being contacted by Karen. And
let's kind of go back to the friend reaching out for you, because oftentimes, even as we've been here today, we've been talking about if you're going through this and this is your situation, but you may be watching this and you have a friend that is in this situation and you've wondered, how can I counsel them? How can I do something for them?
Right.
I don't know, I feel like the best thing that you can have them do would be to do what your friend did. So if that person's watching right now, what would you say to them?
Yeah, if you know somebody that's going through a similar journey and you're struggling with how to help them, I think the important thing is to do something, to do what your heart tells you. Try to connect them with someone, offer to be there for them, stay in touch with them. The big thing for me has been, 3 months has gone by, and I understand that people that were there at the visitation, their lives, resume.
Sure.
And my life, resumes too. I don't want to, live my life not enjoying each day. My brother wouldn't want that. But it's so nice when an unexpected call or card comes in the mail or something, and it's just somebody letting you know that they're thinking of you. And so what I've learned is just to do something. If it's even you feel compelled and inspired to make a meal, say, I'll leave it on your front doorstep. Like, there's no pressure that the person has to feel good to talk to you or anything like that. And so I think the advantage of technology and, opportunities for communication in different ways really lends itself to being a friend there and helping that person, and not necessarily saying, I know exactly what you're going through, but saying, I'm here for you.
Right.
Can I help you? Do you want to meet for lunch?
Just being there for you.
Just, yes.
One of the things that that you hear, you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. You're connected with a person that may have lost someone, and you're wondering, what can I do? I'm going to say do what Lindy's friend did for her, and that's call First Hour Grief Response. Go to the website, get connected. Lindy, I want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And we're going to come back with one more message from Lisa right after this break. Now, you've heard some of the amazing testimonies of people that have used First Hour Grief Response. Lisa, as we're closing this thing out, again, let's address our audience. If somebody is in a situation where they need your resources, what would you advise them to do?
Well, I'd say have somebody that you know. Go to the website and fill out our Contact Us form, or call us. The number's on the screen. There's also lots of information on our website. It's very comprehensive. There's therapists on there that can help too if you feel like you want to go to a licensed therapist. But we are also here. We're free. We'll meet with you one-on-one and provide mentoring and advice. And we can also help you find a good grief support group.
That's very important what you said. This doesn't cost any money.
No, it doesn't
This is
cost
literally
any
a non-profit ministry
That's
that
right.
is here,
That's
set
right.
up,
Yes.
for you dealing with grief. So call the number on the screen. Visit the website.
And we have real world experience. I've lost my father, my brother, and my son, and my partner, Karen Buchanan, lost her husband to suicide.
Wow.
So we pretty much cover a lot of different loss, and we'd love to help.
Well, the way that we love to end any of our shows is we like to end it with prayer.
Okay.
So I'd like for you to pray for our audience, and we'll end it there.
Okay. Father God, if there's anybody out there that is hurting today because they've lost someone very special in their life, I just pray that you lift them up and carry them through what will likely be some very dark days ahead. And, if we can be of service in any way, please somehow get us in contact with them. I just know that there's, between the opioid crisis and just tragic events that happen, senseless events in some cases, there's just a lot of people that hurt, and we'd love to help. And it's your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.